Recording in progress.
You have to go turn your microphone on. Not.
Usually there's some in the back. What's all the agendas in the back there? Beyond you? Agendas in the back?
Have a spare somebody.
Just in time, ready, 7 o'clock. All the business meeting of the Woodstock Town Board of April 18th to order. First order of business for tonight is to stand and pledge the flag. One nation under God. Well, sit down, Deborah, you're up. Thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you, Bill and Town Board for having us back here this evening. It's a culmination of a lot of hard work from the Housing Oversight Task Force and a lot of conversations and input from a lot of people in the community. I'm just going to, so tonight we're submitting to you a draft law for zoning and for subdivision, because the work that we did on housing affects both segments of the law. And it's our understanding that they have to be presented separately. So they're not completely rewritten, but they're basically within the documents that you're receiving. You'll see the changes that were made, and you'll see a lot of supporting documents similar to what you saw last year, which kind of walk you through the documents, give you an annotated table of contents and so forth, and highlights everything has been updated. So all the documents you're receiving, which you'll get, I think by email tomorrow morning, other than the zoning documents themselves, all the supporting documents are all updated.
Okay, so if you send those to Melanie, she can distribute them to the
Okay,
board
great.
and get them up on the website.
So I know we don't have a lot of time. I see Nan Stolzenberg is on Zoom, and we want to acknowledge her and call on her, and also the people on the task force. Judith Kerman is here, Jeff Collins. I see who else? Richard Hefner is up there. And Laura's here, and Michael Castiglione. They've been an amazing group of people to work with. So I'm just very, very honored and proud of everybody's hard work. So we, as you know, the town board, we were formed in July of 2021. You drew members from different boards and committees who were already working on housing and tasked us with developing zoning changes to implement the housing goals of the comprehensive plan. So our mission has been to make housing more available to people of a range of income levels and backgrounds while preserving the town's unique character and scale and continuing to protect our natural environment. It's derived directly from the comprehensive plan, which also states by supporting the creation of a variety of housing options through changes to the zoning law and proactively planning for an expanded mix of housing types in Woodstock, the town will be addressing one of the most important needs identified by the community in the development of this plan. And I just want to state that New York State law enabling town law, it's 272-A, requires that zoning be consistent with an adopted comprehensive plan. So the grant we wrote was to implement the comprehensive plan with regard to housing as it's reflected in that plan. And so it's very typical that once you've adopted a plan, that you adopt zoning laws that are consistent and implement what's in that document. Nan was hired with the grant that we received, and she brought us a number of tools. We had focus groups, data collection, evaluation, and mapping. She helped us analyze the existing laws in light of best practices and helped us to determine best options for Woodstock's unique character and in light of what's expressed in the comp plan. And with these tools, we got right to work. First meeting, July of 2021. And we gathered input from all elements of the community, including town government leaders, town employees, committees, the faith community, business owners and workers, homeowners and renters, diverse age populations, educators, environmental and arts organizations, social service groups, and housing organizations, building and engineers. Basically, we really drew from every aspect of our town. And so we took with that and with the evaluation, the analysis we did, we developed the draft one, the version one, which we submitted to you in May of 2022. And so since then, we set up a page on the website. We put all the documents on the website. We put an email on the website. It's on the zoning updates page. People wrote comments. We also met with committees and boards in the town, and we took all of the input we got from those comments and the meetings we held, and developed a revised draft, which we're presenting to you tonight. I'm going to turn it over to Nan, who's going to talk a little bit more about the work that we did, and then we're going to get into some other parts of our.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, thanks. I just have three quick points. I know our time is limited tonight. I think that the quick introduction that Deborah gave doesn't really underscore the yeoman's amount of work that the task force put in, and that I'm just so incredibly congratulatory and impressed with the work that they did in the taking a year to learn about all of the issues and the best practices that could go into housing, and then really listening. I can vouch that they read every letter, every comment, and every meeting notes that they had to really evaluate the ideas and the concerns that folks had in the community about the first set of recommendations that were made. And they evaluated every single one of them, literally line by line over the last year, to evaluate how the zoning could address those concerns that were raised, while also meeting the task force and the comprehensive plan objectives and goals. And So it was an incredibly diligent effort. The task force was really resilient and worked together extremely well to come up with solutions that are fit you guys, hopefully fit you. It's got to be fit Woodstock like a glove, even though it takes broad best practices to put to work. So I just wanted to convey the the effort in comparison to lots of places that I go. It was an incredible effort that has been put in to tailor these strategies for the town. And recently, at the tail end, after the task force had worked on all of their recommendations, we asked the county to do an informal review of the zoning. We met with the county. We had a land use attorney read it. Both entities, the attorney and the county, had comments which the task force also considered, and all of the recommendations, which were a lot of wordsmithing, but a lot of clarification that we were able to make by the land use attorney's review to make sure that the standards and the development regulations that we're recommending are well-defined and clarified and easily understood in plain English. So I think that was a really great step that was taken at the end to fine-tune what you're receiving tonight. And lastly, I wanted also to convey that I think that Woodstock is really on the leading edge of addressing housing issues. As we all know, we can read in the paper and online everywhere, housing issues are one of the biggest issues that most communities are addressing all over the country. And the American Planning Association, which is the professional association for planners, recently developed a white paper on best practices for addressing housing. And I think that you would be, I'm very pleased, and I think you would be pleased to see that the recommendations that are being submitted to the board tonight are completely consistent with the best management practices that the Professional Planners Association nationwide are promoting to address the housing issues. So I think that was just a little important piece to understand how where you're at. You're really on, really setting the stage, and the county even was very congratulatory of the work that was done and hope that it can be a model for other communities in the county. So those were the 3 points that I wanted to bring up right now. I'll turn it back over to Kirk and Deborah.
Thank you, Nan.
I'm the other member that's here. Hi, everyone. Sorry, I had to turn my back because I'm here to meet with these.
You can
folks.
actually, if you stand in
Can I stand over here?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see a profile. So the other thing I wanted to speak to, or we wanted to speak to tonight, and it's good to be here, and thank you for having us. Yeah, thanks. Is we wanted to talk just about the outcomes that we hope to achieve through this new code. And that's obviously the outcomes is all, I would say, human oriented or human based, people based. And because that's what we're doing this for. We're doing this so people can afford to live here. And so as a result of the outcome, one of the outcomes we think that will be significant for our town is there'll be housing for workers who work in this town, who work for the town, who volunteer for this town, firefighters and the other members of this community who volunteer. They will be able to live here, the EMTs. I always want to leave that out. It's firefighters and EMTs. And so those people will have an opportunity to live in affordable housing. The one thing about affordable housing that I want to stress is that what that means to me is housing where there's not a burden of rent or mortgage based on the income that person has, right? And so that establishes a level of certainty for that individual, which is shown to be improves mental health, improves community activism, meaning that they're out in the community and they're spending the money they do have. They're going to live performances, they're going to have lunch and coffee with their friends. They're doing things that they can't now do because they're having to spend so much money on rent. And so housing certainty is an important part of our community and the fabric of our community. And this is one of the outcomes that we're seeking to accomplish. One of the other areas, a big key area, is senior residents, that they need housing. And so housing for senior residents is something that we will be hope to achieve here. The other thing is the young families, people who grew up here, who can't afford to live here, who want to stay here, have their own life here. People who have already been displaced and want to come back. There's plenty of people who want to come back. The young families want to be here. We need children for our schools. And that too is something that will come from housing that people can afford. The other element, one of the other aspects of which we feel is a good community outcome, is we put a lot of emphasis on conservation of the environment while housing is being developed. So we're seeking in the code is a seek to establish a sense of harmony with housing development needs for this town and the conservation and focus and priority and the value that this town holds as far as maintaining its open space, maintaining its environmentally sensitive areas. And so that harmony is sought in this, and you'll see that once you look at it. I just want to move on to talking about some of the policy outcomes. I'm going to talk about the subdivision code. Deborah's going to talk a little bit about the zoning code. Subdivision is about how the land is divided. That's what the subdivision code is about. And so one of the things that we've done is we've allowed that when there is a subdivision that will take place by a property owner, and let's say that subdivision is fairly significant in size, that property owner will be mandated to preserve 50% of that property for permanently conserved land. So the other 50% will be used for housing, and that housing will be not the standard, the lot size, which is what the code is now, but will be known as the average lot size. So you'll be able to take the same amount of housing that you would build in lot size, and you'll be able to then create an average lot size and could be creative in the way those houses are on that property. So there isn't just this 50 acres and R5, and then you have 10 lots and a house on each lot. There's an ability to adjust that and cluster properties, and then those properties will be adjacent to open space, which also increases the value of a property. So that too is a part of the idea of part of it built in. The other element of it is it will be reduction of disturbed areas. So what we mean by that is that the average lot sizes, that's causing less disturbance of the land itself. The other areas that we have is that there's a lot of more restrictions on the scenic overlay and also environmentally sensitive areas. So further restrictions apply there. And you'll see that in the details of what we offer. One other element that's important, there's been a lot of property owners that have been coming before the planning board, and they've been subdividing their properties. So right now, as a result of this new code, the building envelope of that subdivided property must be identified and recorded on the plat of the property. What that means, the building envelope is the entire area that will be disrupted meaning the road, the septic, the building itself. That's called the building envelope. And that envelope will need to be identified in that subdivided lot prior to approval of that subdivision. This is important because the planning board has been in a situation where there would be a subdivision. Someone would sell that property, and then the only way they could build on it is if they cross some sensitive land, wetlands or such, and they wouldn't be able to. So those kinds of things are something that'll be avoided, and there'll be a way of establishing that in the property records permanently. So that's something that will be, and even if that property is sold 10 years from now, that'll still be on record of what that building envelope will be. I think Deborah's going to take it from here, and I'll be back up in a minute.
Okay, thanks.
A lot of material and a lot to take in, but we feel that it's very well integrated in terms of the goals for housing and the goals for the environment and the kind of sense of community that we have and that we all cherish. So it's really, it's really very appreciative of being able to do this work. The zoning code is for determining the types of uses that are permitted. So subdividing land is a subdivision, and then the types of uses is what zoning focuses on. And so we, since we were all about housing as our number one issue, melding it with the environment, we pulled all of the elements, all of those uses that related to housing into one chapter in the code. So it's much easier to find, it's much easier to relate one use to another, and to navigate through the regulations for housing, for different types of housing. You'll see also things like the purpose clause for the housing chapter is very clear. It comes right out of the comprehensive plan. You'll see definitions in the zoning code for the different types of housing that match up. We found some things didn't match up, so we worked on that to make everything really align correctly. So some of those things that we did is we looked to simplify the development of accessory dwelling units, currently called accessory apartments. In our code, the term of art now is accessory dwelling units, or ADUs. And there are many different things that can actually be ADUs, but they're subordinate to a principal dwelling, a principal residence. So that in there. And so this is currently available right now, but we clarified the siting criteria and some of the other aspects to really increase potentially the ability for people to do that, and to promote an additional long-term rental option. We are including a potential for a second ADU if it is deemed restricted as affordable. Similarly, we're encouraging the development of 3 and 4 plex, so 3 and 4 dwelling units within a structure. With the approval of the planning board, no short-term rentals allowed, and 1 deed restricted affordable unit is required. So as we went through this, we continue to look for ways to increase the certainty of affordability, at the same time applying strict environmental standards, and a variety of housing types that would be in scale, size, and character with those existing buildings in Woodstock. We're not building Kingston buildings or Saugerties buildings. We're looking at what is appropriate and in character with Woodstock. In many instances, we created a new floating residential district, which is a little complicated. We talked about it before. It comes before the planning board, the town board, and it doesn't exist in a place until it is approved and then it's put on a map. So it floats literally. And in that instance, 60% have to be affordable units. And again, very strict siting criteria, similar to the conservation subdivision. You don't have to subdivide the land, you still have to use it in a conservation-based development approach. We've come up with a series of density bonuses that would promote affordable housing and environmental protection. And we've created specific standards on size, scale, and siting for multi-family buildings. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to
Thanks. Yeah, we're almost done, folks. I know you want to get on to other things. Most of you are here for something else, I'm sure. One of the things that was a big priority for us in revising the new laws is helping the planning board and helping the planning board establish standards and procedures and certainty within the review process and the approval process for the planning board. And so some of the things we've done is we've it basically clarified, one of the biggest tools of the code is, thanks to Nan, is the clarity of language. So it's clear to the property owner, to the neighbors, to the planning board, what the law means. And there's ambiguity that has been removed much through that clarity. The other aspect is that it's now required for a property owner to come before the planning board and have a pre-sketch plan. Is that what it's called? A pre-sketch plan, thank you. We have a planning board member here, who's on our task force. What that means is that it establishes a rapport between the planning board and the property owner from the beginning. There's no cost associated. You can come with an envelope with a pencil, and that's what, literally, and sketch it out. And then from there, they can understand your intentions, or the planners and the property owner's intentions. And then from there, they can give their insight as to what they would be looking for. What this does is this prevents a property owner from coming in with their team of lawyers and engineers, spending hundreds or maybe even thousands of dollars, even before they've met with the planning board. And then you have a problem, because the planning board has now a different situation that they're facing in terms of the review and approval process. So now it is absolutely required for that review to happen prior to anything really that is spent on it. We have a modified site plan review. That's a different type of site plan review. That's specifically for the triplex and quads. Those buildings will always be about the size of a house, of a single family home. And so, but there still is there's a modified site plan review for that particular, for those sites. And there's also a lot of other restrictions associated with those buildings. And then, I already mentioned the clarified language. So that's really, but all of these things combined together will give the planning board a series of much needed tools and standards and procedures for them to operate on. And I believe we're gonna have the man finish it up with a few things and talk about next steps. And thanks for listening. Thanks for inviting us and having us here.
Thank you for the long haul. Thank you. All the committees.
Yeah, I just wanted to finish it up with just a quick, what are the next steps? So I understand the town board will be inviting the task force to discuss this in more detail with the board in May. And that will be an opportunity to get early input from the town board on it. And then the town board will follow the normal local law adoption procedures that you would do for any local law, which includes referrals to the planning board, referral to the county for the 239M review, public hearing and other reviews, and it's adopted as a local law and filed with the Department of State. So all of those will be coming, and there'll be opportunity for all of the other committees in the town to comment as part of the public hearing and engagement process to make whatever revisions we need to make for final, hopefully final approval by the board. So there's nothing different or special about the adoption process. It's the same one you've taken lots of times for all of the other local laws that you've adopted. So unless Deborah or Kirk had anything, that's my little summary of the next steps.
Excellent.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Nan.
So again, thank you all. Thank the committee. You've done a Herculean task here in pulling this all together. You presented us with a document, an initial document last year. You took comments, you went back, you revised, and I'm familiar with a little bit. I haven't seen the entire document, but I'm very excited about this and looking forward to the next steps. So with that, I'm going to jump ahead a couple of resolutions and offer this. Be it resolved to forward the zoning amendments and subdivision amendments to the Woodstock Planning Board and the Ulster County Planning Board for their review. Be it further resolved to authorize the supervisor to prepare a secret documents on both proposed amendments. Be it further resolved to schedule a presentation, public discussion of said documents for May 9th, 2023, for town board meetings.
Second.
All in
Discussion.
favor? Discussion?
Yeah, I'm concerned about having enough time to read this before we send it to the planning board and the Ulster County Planning Board. We got this today at 2:55. And this is the first time that we have seen this version of it.
I'd like more time as well, so.
Well, will be before the planning board and the county planning board for over 45 days. And that doesn't mean we're gonna act on it.
So
We're
will
gonna
it
get-
also be before the town board?
It is before the town board now.
So
yes.
then why don't we table this, allow us to read it through and then decide?
Is that a motion to table?
Yes, it certainly
Is
is.
there a second?
Second,
All in favor on the motion to table,
Unless you discuss that or not.
whatever you want to do.
Well, I prefer to not table because we have the Ulster County Planning Board, the Woodstock Planning Board will review for 45 days. We can be reviewing in parallel and we don't want to delay all the work people can do. We can be reviewing in parallel. It will be there, all the people of Woodstock can review in parallel. So we'll all be coming back with our comments.
And we still have a public hearing. that
So
has to be
when
scheduled.
I come back with comments, I'm not gonna hear somebody say, well, why didn't you make this comment sooner?
Absolutely not. We just got we all just got.
All right,
Well, but that they might, because I'm not sure how much you comment on version 1.
I did
But
comment.
but
on
no,
it.
no, no.
In
There's no,
writing?
there's
Yes,
Did you
I
no,
comment
did.
in writing?
Yes, I did.
comments will all be taken seriously. So, should we vote on the motion to table?
I vote
I
Opposed.
withdraw the motion.
Okay, all in favor of the original motion?
Aye.
Aye.
And I would like to say my own thank you since I've worked for almost 2 years, 1 year and 10 months. Kirk and Deborah have been fabulous leaders. Nan has been a fabulous guide and a fabulous writer of a lot of things. We have Judy here, we have Jeff here, Richard is, I think, online there, and Michael. So it's been a team with Kirk and Deborah's leadership has worked so productively together and collaboratively together. And everybody was always heard in all meetings. And I really appreciate that everybody took great care to hear the inputs that came from all the public from version 1. I see Judy has her hand up.
You know, just to also, to Bennett's point, the public also is going to be weighing in.
Oh, absolutely.
Including at the presentation and including at public hearings. So, you know, where this document finally lands is anybody's guess. Judy?
I just wanted to point out from a navigation point of view, in addition to having the actual draft law, you're receiving what we call a summary document, which is 14 pages and quite detailed, and a 2-page highlights document, which essentially tells you what is this thing. So if you start with the highlights document and then you read the 14 pages, which is a manageable amount, that will guide you to the sections of the actual law as drafted. And it will make it a lot more manageable. It's not that you're having to read, for one thing, it isn't 300 pages, it's a lot less. 300 pages of the entire document, including things that were not touched. But it will really help to navigate.
Thank you, Judy. So with that, I'm going to move to a couple more resolutions. Be it resolved to accept minutes for meetings held on March 21st and April 11th, 2023.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And do we heard-
Discussion?
Oh, the vote was already taken.
Discussion.
No.
Discuss.
So the 411 meeting does not reflect what happened. It needs to be corrected. I've passed those corrections on to the town clerk. But in the interim, you told me you were the one who took the minutes of
I
the
did.
executive session meeting.
Yep.
And I'd like to review those before voting yes, because what's in this
My
minute
record
meeting is not
my
a
record is what-
reflection.
My record is what Jackie's provided, and it is what happened.
Jackie was not at the,
Bennett, like Donald Trump, you can't keep repeating things that aren't true and expect them to become true.
Bill, you've been
Okay.
doing things that aren't true and you expect them to come.
you know,
back.
today at the press
Well,
conference at the Dominion versus Fox News trial, there's a quote that says truth matters, lies have
certainly- It
consequences.
certainly
that's
does.
true.
So just so you know, those minutes did not reflect what actually
They
happened.
do.
We
reflect
did
what
not
happened.
vote on a WEC chair in a public session.
Well,
We did not do
The
it.
executive
We-
session ended.
The executive
Bill
session
came out
and the
of
public
executive
session ended.
No, the public
No,
session did
he
not
said
end.
both of those
No,
things.
he did not.
Yes, he
said-
did.
He said he asked for a motion to close executive session.
No, you made a,
You know what,
made a,
Laura, it's
you-
over. The vote was 3-2. Be it resolved to accept the town clerk's report.
I would like to discuss this.
The town clerk's report? Discuss.
No,
Do I have
I'd
a
like to
second?
discuss the minutes. You haven't even approved the minutes.
We did. They were approved 3-2. Be it resolved to accept the town clerk's report.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
And abstain.
Okay, so 3-2 abstain.
And what three,
And Rich.
1 abstain, and Maria Elena, did you abstain
Be
also?
it resolved,
We have 2 abstentions.
yes, 3-2. Be it resolved to authorize payments of ordered vouchers in the amount of $423,556.73.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm assuming you two are abstaining on that one as well?
Well, yes, I'll abstain on that, absolutely.
Well, we didn't see you doing the vouchers, so.
Right.
Yeah, so I abstained on the voucher.
Be it resolved to authorize, be it resolved to authorize transfers for transfer sheet.
Second.
Oh, sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Just want to take that note. So that's 5-0.
I'd like to offer
Be
a
it resolved-
resolution to appoint Alex Bolato as the chair of the Woodstock Environmental
We have,
Commission.
I'll
For a
second
term
that.
not to end.
we
until
have a
2023.
chair and new resolutions go to the end of the list. Be it resolved. that
There's
the town board of
there's
the
a
town of
resolution
Woodstock
and a second.
does
on
hereby
this.
approve and endorse the
Bill, you
application of the
can't just
grant.
ignore this resolution.
New resolutions go to the end of the.
That's
meeting.
not, that,
It
you're
is.
making it up,
No,
Bill.
I'm not. Be it resolved. Be it resolved, that the town board of the town of Woodstock does hereby approve and endorse the application of the grant under the Hudson River Valley Greenway Planning Grants Program for a project known as the Woodstock Sidewalk Renovation Plan and Complete Streets Design and located within the town of Woodstock.
Second.
Discuss.
Yes, discuss.
This is another thing that we just received at 2:55 and we haven't been able to review. You're asking us to again vote on
What the
something.
Complete Streets is asking for is approval to file this, and then they will fill out the paperwork and give it to us for final approval.
I would like to see what they want to file. I don't want to say yes to something that
What they
isn't.
want, what they want to file is.
Have you seen what they want to file?
They
They're
haven't filled
asking-
it out.
they're
They're
asking
asking for permission to fill it
To
out.
fill it out. They want permission to fill it out. What they want is when the Tinker Street work is done, where the New York State DOT has a lot of money to come redo Tinker Street for us, what the Complete Streets Committee is looking to do
That's-
is bring in a planner who can look, because the DOT is very good at paving a road for cars. But will they be creative and innovative for how to address pedestrians and bicyclists? So the idea of bringing in a planner for Complete Streets is to try to see, are there ideas for making things better for pedestrians and cyclists? So they want to come to a grant, so the town doesn't pay money, so that although the town may put up some, but the grant will put up a lot of the money, so that we can get a professional planner to give us the best solution we can for not just cars, but also cyclists and pedestrians, et cetera. So they're just asking, can they fill out a grant? There is not a grant to review yet, because they just wanted to know whether we're in favor of them filling out the grant, and then we can look at the grant.
I recall before the geothermal grant was voted on, we all discussed it and we looked at it and we had people come forward and tell us what they were
The
doing.
Complete Streets is asked for approval by this board to fill out the grants. That's simple.
To fill it out.
And then we'll review that and either submit it or not. If you don't want them, you can go talk to Grace if you want, unless the rest of the board is in agreement.
I mean,
We're
I-
permitting them to fill out an application.
I just don't understand why we can't see these things in advance. I mean,
Because
we just got
they
this-
haven't filled it out.
They have an
They have permission to fill
application.
it
They
I'd
don't,
like to know what they're filling out an application for.
well, before
I
they
think I
submit it, they will fill it, they will give it to us.
We haven't seen what this
Okay.
is.
Back
This
and
is-
forth, back and forth. Should I tell Grace not to bother?
What do you think?
Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
And we will see that,
When you're ramming these things through without letting people look at them,
There's
what are you
nothing to-
supposed to do?
there's nothing to look at. We'll get the application before it's submitted from Grace.
My mother told me when someone says there's nothing to look at, there's something to look at.
Okay. To hire Heather Amy as full-time account clerk at $24.21 per hour effective April 17th, 2023.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Be resolved to hire Melissa Leviville as seasonal parking lot attendant at $18.75 per hour effective April 17th, 2023.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Hold on, let me just do these ayes in case Jackie's not hearing them. Bennett, you did Heather. Reggie, you did. Melissa. Be it resolved to hire Amber Taft as provisional full-time dispatcher at a rate of 24.21 per hour effective April 17th, 2023.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And I believe there's one more full-timer that's going to be coming down the pike. Just so everybody knows, provisional means the test is not out. She's hired provisionally and with the expectation that she does well on the test. We resolved to hire Jordan Nadler as part-time rec aide at $19.14 per hour effective April 17th, 2023.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, public be heard.
So, this is the resolution.
Oh, okay, we already have a chair.
You
Then
don't
we
have a
voted on
chair.
We do.
There is no chair for the Woodstock Environmental Commission. You didn't vote on it.
We
It
did.
did
We
not
did.
take
We
place
did.
in
We
a
just
public
approved- we
session.
approved
Bennett,
the minutes, Bennett. We approved the
Three of
minutes.
us just approved the minutes. We're in agreement of what happened. This is democracy. You can argue
Yes,
all
this
day
is
long.
democracy, and you are not following it.
Well, you're
Yeah.
making up the rules,
Bennett,
Bennett. You're
you,
trying to
you
reclaim
make it
the
up as you
commission.
go. You're
I'm not
right.
making up anything.
Claire, you have 2 minutes for public be heard?
I support Bennett.
Okay, good for you. Thank you.
I support Bennett.
I hope all you support Bennett. Claire, come on up.
I think she already said, oh, here we go.
Should get a season ticket. I think,
You should. Yes. Ready?
All right, well, we're going to change topic very quickly. I timed it 2 minutes. My name is Claire Keith. I represent a growing group of citizens who are concerned about the rapid growth of commercial outdoor amplification in our town. I am here today to follow up on last week's board meeting at which a petition was formally presented by representatives from music venues. The petition asks to modify our zoning laws in order to open up our community airspace to more of the amplified outdoor music already offered by existing venues and to additional businesses in the future. The supervisor stated that he wanted to call immediately an advisory task force to permit a prompt review and board discussion of the music petition and the issue. We are greatly concerned about the speed at which this is unfolding. Therefore, we circulated a petition in the past few days called "Don't Allow Quick Fixes to Damage Our Laws." We asked Bill to put a room on the agenda for us today. He couldn't. I can certainly see why. Therefore, we are very anxious to provide the town board in advance with some information that we think should be part of the discussion. So if we've been able to come today, we would have hoped to offer you some sound example of the amplification impact. We also wish to respectfully remind the board that there is an essential background on record at the planning board where this issue was carefully discussed last year. And the town board's records themselves also document a long history of the impact on residents of unchecked amplified outdoor music in the hamlet. The planning board's work has revealed some systemic issues related to the current wording of our code and our noise ordinance that we believe will need consultation with our town attorney to make sure they are resolved properly. It also made recommendation that the 2022 season last summer should have been used by venues to test sound control. That was not entirely done.
10 seconds.
A lot of work needs to be done that cannot be solved by looking at this as a cultural issue of people in favor of music or against it. This is not about music. It is about how much increase in amplification we
Thank
can
you, Claire.
accommodate in our sense. Please give me one sentence. This is,
Sentence.
well, yes. We much hope that our petition will be put on an agenda before the date that this discussion is open, so that we know that the town can remain livable. We are
Thank you.
bringing paper for each of you. This is brutal, second by second. I think it's, we'll have one or two here. Yeah. I think I had 5. One for
Thank you, Claire.
Thank you. I didn't-
Susan Painter, you're next.
Concerned about the contaminated soil in Shady on Church Road. My biggest concern is in the last meeting, I heard you talk about that we would sift and spread the soil, the contaminated soil, because a lot of the most dangerous particulate matter that would enter the water supply through the aquifer that the land is sitting on would not be caught through a sifting method. I'm really worried about the health of the people in the immediate neighborhood and also in the whole town. And Alex Bolato was doing an incredible job of researching and analyzing the situation. And I joined the Environmental Commission because I was so inspired by her leadership. And I didn't even get to go to my first meeting and she's been ousted. So those two are concerns, both for the contamination and for the leadership that was doing something about it.
Okay. Everyone knows who I am. I'm Frank Amy, the landowner that is mostly or most directly affected by this dump because part of it has washed down on my property, 23 feet from my well. Okay. Now, a couple concerns. First of all, this does not just affect the local wells and shades. This affects the Woodstock town wells. It's positioned squarely over the aquifer that feeds the town wells. And I'm not talking about the salt pit. Okay, we have a map and an overlay to prove that. Second of all, from what I understand, a permit has been granted to the 10 Church Road owner to sift and sort and process and crush this stuff and move it around.
No, hold this, the concrete, the
Dirt
version
removal.
out.
It says dirt removal
Well,
and
all right, but first of
redistribution.
all, it's not dirt, it's C&D material.
Mhm.
Okay, second of all, now, you enacted a new fill and grading law, so this wouldn't happen again, correct, Bill? Okay, so the permit that was issued clearly violates your law.
No, it doesn't. because
doesn't?
The law is not grandfathered.
Grandfather, your
What-
law was put
the-
in before this is happening now.
No.
Well, no, he's saying the action today. He's saying the
The
action
dirt-
today.
the dirt that's on the property is there prior to. I'm not gonna sit here and debate. Finish your statement.
Okay, so anyway, your law permit, it does not permit on-site processing, sorting, or crushing. It requires an engineer's stamp. It requires to include the quantity of material. I mean, the plan that was proposed to you is not a plan. It looks more like a cartoon.
Okay, thank you.
So just, think about that because this should be under your new law that you put in place to protect us.
Thank you, Frank. Heather Cross. I'd love to remove all the film. but
Hello.
I'm not going to permit it. And what I'm gonna do is. The law doesn't go retroactive. The fill law doesn't go retroactive. I'm not gonna argue this point tonight. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna appoint Laura Ricky to work with. And I'm gonna work with her and the WEC, and I'm gonna create a line, a timeline, as well as points of law. Because things are being conflated, things are being exaggerated, and things are being mischaracterized. And that's, yeah, okay. Heather Cross.
Hi, my name's Heather Cross. I am just calling, I'm just asking for some clarification around the minutes from the April 11th meeting. I was at the meeting in person and we agreed before the resolution was voted on that it was going to say the end of November 2020. In the current minutes, it says no prior to November 2020. This impacts me directly. And my eligibility for a short-term rental permit. And I just want to make sure that this is being addressed properly. I believe the meeting was recorded and we could, although I do know there was some AV issues. So I just want to make sure that, in the kerfuffle of discussion between Bill and Bennett, it got a little lost on me where we landed
I'll go
with
back
that.
and take a look at that.
There's another name that was not put on the minutes list that was in the resolution list, Rhina Lepid. So in addition to what Heather's suggesting, the minutes need to reflect what actually happened.
I will look at that.
Thank you. I
And
appreciate
last,
it.
Michael.
Hi, I was actually addressing the same thing as Heather, just there's a couple of clerical errors from the last week's minutes. Nothing to do with what the kerfuffle between Bennett about the executive session, but it's just a clerical error, but it really could screw things up for a couple of Heather and another woman who.
We'll look at that. You can give me a call tomorrow at the office.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. I have one quick statement to say. And, public be heard is done. We take 5 for 2 minutes. Okay. No, Joe, we're done with public be heard. Joe, please. Please.
Yeah, we're all living in there. We need to know how to talk about this.
I have served on the Woodstock Town Board for 18 years, as supervisor for the last 7. Longer than some board members have lived in town. I have. Stop it, or I'm gonna call the police and have you thrown out of the meeting.
Call the police.
Yes.
Call the police.
Order.
Call the police.
That's like Tennessee.
Call them.
Tennessee too.
You guys are babies. Oh. I have also served on zoning board of appeals for 8 years, starting in 1996. During that period, I've had the opportunity to work with a number of folks who have shared my deep love for this community. We did not always start out in agreement on any particular issue, but our caring and love for Woodstock always led us to positive solutions. Along the way, we've completed 3 major building projects and have another one underway. We saw most of our bridges replaced and many other infrastructure improvements. We adopted local laws protecting our wetlands and streams, our steep slopes, our wellhead area. We regulated 5G to protect our residents. We adopted a comprehensive plan after decades of not being able to do so. We maintained a beautiful community, one people want to be part of. We helped our residents through a pandemic, ensured them protection with vaccine clinics. It is a record I am very proud of. However, they say all good things come to an end. The last year and several months have become unbearably toxic for me. I am not alone in this feeling. National politics have invaded our little town. There is less caring about our town, more pushing of personal hidden agendas with no concern or understanding for process. I find myself very frustrated, spending more time dealing with dispelling the blatant twisting or ignoring of the truth and less time doing the people's work. Some folks seem to think if you repeat a lie often enough, it becomes truth. I had intended to retire as supervisor at the end of this term. I allowed concerned citizens to convince me to run for another. While I share their concerns, I have come to the decision I must do what's best for myself and my family. For that reason, I am suspending my campaign as supervisor. I wish the town of Woodstock all the best. You will need it. In the meantime, I look forward to more accomplishments with the help of Reggie and Laura this year. Thank you. Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.